There she is. Look at her. She's still on mute, but she'll get that figured out really quick. She's very clever. I've worked with her a lot.
No, the mute button was being pokey. I don't know why.
So slow, that thing. So this is really weird. I've never awkwardly interviewed somebody who's over here but over there at the same time. So I'll just kind of bounce back and forth between the both of you. But I want to say a couple things about Jana. I've had the opportunity to drive down there and meet her. And we had the opportunity to spend time and eating some lunch together. And I could not have had a more gracious host for one of my first road trips. I mean, what a fantastic opportunity to see your office, which by the way is beautiful. And to be shown around the town and see some wonderful things and hear a lot about her personal story. It was just a fantastic opportunity. And I would encourage anybody who's a new agent, you gotta keep in mind, I was a new agent this time as well. What an incredible gift to give somebody in terms of feeling welcome and understanding and stuff. And right off the bat, Jana, that's my introduction for you. I mean, you've been in the business for so long that it makes what I've done a very short time. And I know, I mean, you're what, 29 today, I think is your birthday was just a couple weeks ago, so you just turned 29. So that's awesome, but has somehow managed to pack a wealth of experience into that time. What can you tell us about yourself and your family?
So tell me, can you hear me all right?
That's going to turn you up a little bit, but we can hear you.
How's that? Do you want me to scoot closer or can you hear okay?
Oh, you're great now.
Okay. All right. So first of all, it was our pleasure having you here. And really, actually, Olivia told us we had to be nice to you so you'd keep making visits to everybody else. And Victoria brought those cookies. So, you know, it was a win-win. So about me and myself, well, big reveal since I think we need to work on your numbers. I'll be honest with everybody and tell you, okay, it wasn't 29, it was 60 and I had food poisoning. So I didn't even get chocolate cake. So that's 2022 for you. Is that hilarious? And I have been married 224 years. That's in dog years, or if you married an Irishman, either way. And I have 2 kids. Some of you have met Braden, and we also have a son, Colin. They both own their own homes. I think that might be a matter of their mom's a realtor. And what's the point of paying rent? I'm very proud of both of them. They're both contributing to society and are kind to people. So they are a pleasure of, you know, to have around my husband and I. And my husband is Bill, and he's a beekeeper. Some of you have probably not met him. A few have, but yet some have had his honey.
That's awesome. A beekeeper that's incredible. And she mentioned food poisoning on her birthday, and I just want to tell another quick Jana story, and then we'll answer the next question. I called Jana the day after her birthday because, well, I like to call people and see how they're doing. And somehow in a conversation where I was trying to find out how she was doing and celebrate her birthday, we ended up talking about how my Monday was hard. And she had just had food poisoning. So when you think about being a great listener and being a caring individual and how do you make that conversation work, if you ever want to know how to put your heart first in real estate, I promise you there are lessons from this fantastic woman. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate and what your first year was like?
Well, honestly, I moved whenever my husband got a great job opportunity or wanted to relocate. Every time we moved, the realtor would say, "Oh my gosh, you should be a realtor." And I was like, you know, I work in the ag industry. I already work 70 plus hours a week. I'm in grad school. I have 2 little kids. Thanks for the thought, but you know, I really don't have time right now. When we moved to Minnesota about 13 years ago, I actually took a job with a real estate office because they asked me a question about what I thought of their marketing. And I'm like, what marketing? And I had just come off of a director of marketing role in the ag industry. And they said, well, what did you think? You know, how did you find us? I said, honestly, I pulled in your parking lot to read a real estate magazine that I picked up at the grocery store. I wouldn't have known I was in your parking lot if I hadn't have just noticed the tiny sign on the door. So that became a job offer. I built a website, did a lot of coaching, team building, managed the office and did process and procedure improvement for them, at which time a lot of clients would say, oh, you should get your license. Can you list your house for us? And I was still going, no, we're new in town. You know, I'm helping my kids acclimate. But that was 11 and a half years ago. I got my license against my better judgment because I knew when I do something, I do it all in, and I still had kids in high school. Luckily, one of them got their driver's license pretty soon after that because he had a lawn mowing business. And I used to haul he and his lawnmower around in between my daughter's and my husband's life and my work life. So it's always been a lot of fun, and we pack a lot in. But in Marshall, we bought our fourth home, and ended up going to work for the agency that I bought my house with.
What was your first year like as an agent? I mean, how did you get your business started and running as an agent?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was very upset my first year in real estate not my first year in real estate, but when I got my license, because I had one closing, and I was so frustrated that a January 5th closing moved to December 20th. What were those people thinking? Wrecking my first year and giving me a one closing year. So my first real year was in 2012, and I closed 25 transactions. And I really didn't look, for business. It was kind of tracking me because I'd been doing open houses for agents, all along. I loved doing it. And I would come back and say, here's 3 possible listings. Here's your 2 people that are most likely to write an offer. Here's who you need to follow up on before I got my license. So new agents out there, absolutely work the open houses. You meet the most amazing people. They'll chat your ear off, keep good notes. And if, and depending on whether you get the follow-ups or you hand them off to the listing agent, it is so worth it. And there are people 12 years later who will still say to me, I remember when you used to do open houses when you didn't even have your license. So for some reason, open houses are memorable to people if you make them feel welcome and you do courtesy follow-ups.
That's awesome. You mentioned 2 things that you wanted to pass on to that agent when you were doing them. I think one of them was who you thought was most likely to put in an offer. What were those 2 again?
So the 2 things that I actually there were 3. One of them was listen, right? So that you can pick up, are they a prospective buyer or are they at an open house because they may be looking to sell and they want to know how the process works. The other thing, if you can jot down information, do they have kids? How old are they? Are they boys or girls? If you can remember a child's name and whether or not they need to be in a school district or have a fenced yard or whatever, that makes a massive impact on a buyer. And the seller also pays attention because 9 times out of 10, if they're selling, they've got to go somewhere, right?
Absolutely. That is some awesome advice. And I think, when we think about how we do our business, and again, another great example, listening, what am I listening for, right? It's not just enough to listen, but what am I listening for is a great point. And then how do I use that? That's a fantastic set of stuff there. Who was your first hire, Jana?
My first hire was actually Mallory Verdos, and she was an assistant. She was the office assistant. She later took maternity leave. Sorry, one of our clients was walking through the office. This is call me later, right? She worked for us, did a fabulous job, had a first baby, and then ended up not coming back and had a second baby, but she has been a repeat client, as has numerous members of her family. And I still see her, and we exchange Snapchats and kids pictures and all of that. So she was a wonderful, wonderful first hire. And I would always recommend, if you're getting bogged down and you can't get anything, everything done, having an assistant that you can rely on and who has the same values and cares about clients the way you do is a phenomenal start to building a team.
Absolutely. And I straight out of MREA, which I don't think you were following at that time, maybe you were, but it's absolutely one of those bedrock pieces. How did you know she was the right one to hire?
She was very sweet and caring, and she was willing to learn and take on innumerable tasks. It wasn't like she had these 9 dots and this is what she did and this was her hours, and she didn't define to me what the job needed to me. She asked me, well, what would I be doing? Who would I be talking to? And could I get off if my husband was not in the field one day? those are the sorts of things that made me know she had the value system that I have.
Awesome. That is, yeah. And I at the end of the day, to your point, it's about the values that you have and how do you exemplify those. Along that line, how did you decide to come to Keller Williams?
Oh gosh, don't look at Olivia. She's going like this. So
that's a pretty good facsimile.
So I'll keep it short. I was with that other agency that I bought my house with. They had also sold that company to another company. My growing up on a farm and working in the ag industry, I had a certain value system and a working together, collaborating for the best of the client frame of mind that didn't seem to match up with the office that I was in, where it was be number one, do anything it takes, count your closings and count your money, and the whole rest of the world didn't really matter, right? That was so foreign to me. And there were a few things that happened, and I would go and I'd chat with my broker, and I just realized that we were not simpatico. Is that a wild word for you today?
I did not expect how to put it on my bingo sheet, that's for sure.
Well, next you get to spell it. So I was looking around, and I had the great pleasure of talking to Olivia. Actually, my family and I were flying back from somewhere, and she met us at a restaurant in the cities, and we talked about how does Keller Williams work? What makes it tick? Why is it special? How is, what's all of the different things that are great about Keller Williams, and why would I want to go there? Because I obviously knew that I could not go with any of the local offices, because that would just like throw salt on the wound of me leaving the one that I was at. And Olivia invited me down to an event in Austin, and I got to tag along with she and Jason and Janie. And I was like, oh my word. Not only is it everything Olivia said, but these people walk the talk. They really mean it. They are honestly gracious, interested in your success, willing to help. And they just step up and say, come on board. Let us know what you need. And that it was so pervasive throughout the people that I met, even the people that I didn't know that were from other states. Everybody was like open arms, welcoming, and just, they had the value system, the caring about other people that was so important to me.
Thank you for sharing that. That's an amazing thing. And I think all of us feel the same way. And that's why we are here too. Your career overall has been, obviously you've made quite a success, and ultimately what is a fairly short time in the real estate business. What are some failures you maybe experienced, and how did you overcome them?
Can I answer even if I haven't overcome them yet?
Absolutely, because the real life is we're always overcoming, aren't we?
That's right, because I'm still failing forwards, I'll be honest with you. So the biggest thing that I tell anybody that joins my team, and they are not someone in particular, is not necessarily following through on the advice just yet, but your database, every single solitary day, and every person that you meet should be logged in on a spreadsheet or in a notebook or something, because now we have that, oh my God, that amazing thing called command. Why in heaven's name people wouldn't be tracking every contact they have is just amazing if you're not doing it. We didn't have those tools when I started 12 years ago. And to this day, I'll think of someone who I've done business with, or I could have done business with, and I have to dig for the contact information because it's just not at my fingertips. So no matter how long you've been in the business, or if you're not even sure you're going to stay in it long, build your database, document every contact. Because no matter what you do in life, you're going to come up to a point in time where you want to talk to somebody, and you're going to be scratching and digging, trying to figure out where that information is.
I did not arrange this. I swear I did not arrange that, but it is the truth. And I think it's super important. And I think it really leads into a great question that I know that I'm going to throw Jana a big softball here, but I think one of the biggest things that keys to your success that we've talked about is follow-up. with your database and keeping on top of those folks. Tell us about how you do that. How do you stay top of mind with your agents or with your clients? I'm sorry.
Well, some of them are obvious, and some of them are much more subliminal. Another thing that we do a lot of down here in Marshall is get involved and stay involved in the community. So it may be a women's group, it may be a professional group, it's food for kids. We volunteer and we're active in the community and we participate. And even if we can't book a table for the hospice event, we donate a basket or something for their auction. We plant flowers for a hospice house, or we help out at the fairgrounds and volunteer at the county fair. We are visible, and not just in Marshall, but also in the little towns around us, because Jocelyn, for instance, is our assistant. She's not licensed, but every client knows her, they love her, and she is very active in the community that she is from, as well as other smaller communities around us. Our team members, they participate, and people know that we're out there doing good things for the community. We're more than collecting a commission. We are contributing to the community. And people remember that as much as the handshake and the closing gift and the card in the mail on their anniversary. And it's just a combination of all of that to build that rapport and that trust, and then to be visible.
That's amazing. I don't know anybody who'd want to do their business any differently than that. What's your role model, Jana?
My parents.
How did that come to be?
I was never one of those rowdy kids who sassed and challenged my parents. I had a sister who I lost sleep every Friday and Saturday night during her entire high school years, because she was always late getting home, and then she would grumble at me about the time, about curfews. So I decided, plus I'm a middle kid, I'm a pleaser, right? So I was really close with my family. I loved to work. My dad and mom both had an amazing work ethic, and we had 3 cardinal rules. I don't know why I'm getting sad, maybe because of whatever. If it's broken, fix it. If there's work to be done, do it. And if somebody needs help, pitch in. And my dad at 82 with Parkinson's is still farming. And when he can't climb on a tractor one day, the neighbor comes down and seeds oats. So as a role model, how could I do any better than somebody who works hard, cares about other people, volunteers in the community, has faith, and leaves a positive footprint at the end of every day.
It is simply amazing. What can you tell us that we don't know about you already, Jana? And if it's on LinkedIn or it's on your resume, social media, that doesn't count. What's the hidden Jana Reilly?
Honey.
I love vehicles and fast cars and motorcycles. And some of you who've ridden with me may know that, or if you've heard. But I can also rebuild a car or a truck engine. I can put on a lift kit. I can put headers on a vehicle. So even though I may look like I'm an office person and I, go to meetings and all of that stuff, there's nothing more fun than a really great project. And if I could do that again just for fun every now and then, I would still be doing that. Plus, and I've also been in a demolition derby. So there.
Every time you talk to Jana, you find out something that literally you just would not expect. I mean, there's so many layers to Jana. Jana, I want to finish out with a quick question, and just what's next for you? What's the next step?
That's a really, really good question. And I would say that I've made the commitment to figure that out this year. Real estate continues to play a part of it, but I also am thinking about doing some sort of a development, not necessarily in Minnesota. Sorry, but I'm a little bit tapped out on this weather this winter. I am looking for a property that I can develop either for ourselves or maybe to include some other people. And it may be a decommissioned gravel pit. It may be a rural property. If I could find an old college campus that's closed down that I could make into a retirement community, I'm very open-minded about whatever comes along. I have ultimate faith that God has a purpose for me. I've never filled out a job application in my life. I have never been unemployed in my life. I've had phenomenal opportunities and experiences, and I have faith that he'll clue me in again when it's time.
That is awesome. And I want to thank you for not only sharing with us today, but being open, honest, vulnerable in a way that as I always say, unexpected when it comes to you. But I would have to say that of all the people I've met in the business in the short time that I've been there, from a real estate perspective, you are my role model. And I just enjoy talking to you every time I can. So thank you for talking with us today. Really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you again next time.
Thank you all for the
Now I'm going to tell
opportunity.
you, look at it. She's got to get talking to that person who came in her office. I wanted to tell you I wanted to finish today at noon, and anybody got time? 2 minutes over, but the rest of the time is yours. Thank you for coming today. There are so many great things going on in the office today, following up with Growth and Wealth Building Wednesday. We got lunch in the training room. Thank you, Evan, Earthen, you know who you are. Enjoy it, guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it so much today.